A Philosopher's Legacy. James Frederick Ferrier, 1808–1864, was a prominent Scottish philosopher and jurist who is primarily known for his significant contributions to epistemology, metaphysics, and the philosophy of mind. Ferrier was not only an intellectual but also a committed public servant, who combined his work as a lawyer with his deep philosophical explorations. His ideas had a lasting impact on Scottish idealism and the broader philosophical landscape, helping shape 19th-century philosophy. Ferrier's work stands at the crossroads of the traditions of Scottish Enlightenment thinkers such as Thomas Reid and the German Idealism that influenced thinkers like Hegel and Fichte. While his ideas are not as widely recognized today as those of some of his contemporaries, they offer valuable insights into the nature of knowledge, reality, and human experience. More than just an academic, Ferrier's life offers timeless lessons in intellectual curiosity, critical thinking, persistence, and personal growth. In this video reflection on his life and philosophical ideas, we'll explore the key lessons that can be drawn from his work, highlighting how his ideas continue to resonate in contemporary intellectual discourse and offer practical insights into personal and professional life. 1. The value of intellectual curiosity, challenging the status quo. One of the most compelling features of Ferrier's life was his unwavering commitment to exploring the fundamental questions about human experience. Born in 1808 in Edinburgh, Scotland, Ferrier grew up in a time of intellectual ferment. The early 19th century was a period of intense philosophical exploration, with thinkers like Immanuel Kant, George Berkeley, David Hume, and Thomas Reid providing the groundwork for much of the intellectual debates of the day. However, Ferrier was not content to simply accept the prevailing ideas of the time. He sought to understand the limitations of existing thought systems and questioned the very foundations of knowledge and perception. Ferrier's intellectual curiosity drove him to critically engage with the philosophy of empiricism. Empiricism, championed by thinkers such as Locke and Hume, held that all knowledge arises from sensory experience. Ferrier, however, recognized that this idea had its limits. Through his study of epistemology, he began to argue that experience alone could not explain the full nature of human knowledge. He proposed that the mind itself played a fundamental role in constructing knowledge and that there were inherent structures of thought that shaped how we perceive the world. Ferrier's questioning of empiricism was not a mere academic exercise, it was a reflection of his broader intellectual curiosity. He was interested in understanding the deeper principles that governed human experience and sought to explore what lay beneath the surface of everyday perceptions. In this sense, his philosophical work mirrors a broader lesson about the importance of intellectual curiosity. Lesson: to be truly great in any field, one must be willing to challenge assumptions and seek deeper understanding, even when it leads to uncharted or uncomfortable territory. Ferrier's critical exploration of existing knowledge serves as a reminder that intellectual curiosity is not about merely acquiring facts or accepting accepted truths. It's about asking the hard questions and engaging in the deep, reflective work necessary to uncover deeper insights. 2. The role of critical thinking, never accept ideas at face value. In addition to his curiosity, Ferrier's work teaches a second critical lesson, the importance of skepticism and critical thinking. His critique of empiricism is one of the clearest examples of how he applied rigorous critical thinking to challenge established norms. In his work Institutes of Metaphysics, 1854, Ferrier criticized the empiricist view that all knowledge originates from sensory experience, arguing instead that knowledge comes from a more profound interaction between the mind and the world. He believed that the mind was not just a passive receiver of sensory input but an active participant in constructing and interpreting reality. Ferrier's critique of empiricism and his advocacy for a more active role for the mind in knowledge acquisition reflect the core principle of critical thinking. He didn't simply accept the dominant ideas of his time but took the time to carefully evaluate and question them. Lesson: to grow as a thinker, one must develop the ability to question and critically assess all ideas, including one's own. It is only through critical engagement that we can refine our understanding and approach the truth. Ferrier's insistence on the need for a more robust understanding of how knowledge is formed helps us see the limitations of ideas that seem self-evident. In modern times, this is especially relevant when we face new technological advancements, social challenges, or evolving worldviews. Instead of passively absorbing information, Ferrier's life encourages us to actively engage with the material, evaluate different perspectives, and seek the underlying principles that govern what we know. 3. The importance of deep reflection and self-knowledge. Another major theme in Ferrier's philosophy was the importance of reflection and self-awareness. Ferrier's work in metaphysics was not merely an abstract intellectual exercise but was rooted in the idea that understanding the nature of reality required deep introspection. He believed that in order to comprehend the nature of knowledge, we must first understand the workings of our own minds. His argument against empiricism emphasized that the mind was not simply a passive vessel receiving sensory data. Instead, he contended that our mind actively shapes our experience of the world. This reflects a more profound lesson about the nature of knowledge. It is not just about the external world, but about how we engage with that world internally. Lesson: to truly know something, we must understand how we know it. This is a deeply reflective process that requires self-awareness and introspection. This lesson is particularly relevant in our current age of information overload. In a world where facts and data are constantly being presented to us, the ability to reflect on how we engage with and interpret that information becomes crucial. Ferrier's emphasis on introspection calls us to pause and examine not just what we know, but how we know it and the processes that shape our understanding. It is a reminder that deep learning requires more than memorization. It requires a thoughtful engagement with the ways in which we make sense of the world. 4. Integrating different disciplines. The interplay between law and philosophy. Ferrier's life also offers a valuable lesson in the integration of different fields of knowledge. As a lawyer and philosopher, Ferrier demonstrated that intellectual pursuits need not be confined to a single discipline. His legal career was intertwined with his philosophical work, and his philosophical insights were enriched by his practical experiences in law. Ferrier's interdisciplinary approach helped him develop a more holistic understanding of human nature and society. His dual expertise in law and philosophy provided him with a broader perspective on the issues he encountered. In his legal work, Ferrier dealt with concepts of justice, morality, and human rights, all of which were deeply connected to his philosophical inquiries. By drawing on insights from both fields, Ferrier was able to offer a more nuanced understanding of human beings as both rational agents and moral individuals. Lesson: in our own lives, we can benefit greatly from integrating knowledge from different fields. Whether in the workplace or in personal development, blending diverse areas of expertise can lead to deeper insights and more creative solutions. Ferrier's life shows that an interdisciplinary approach is not only intellectually enriching but can also have practical applications in everyday life. 5. The importance of persistence despite personal struggles. Ferrier's life was not without challenges. He faced personal health struggles that sometimes interfered with his work, and he also experienced the pressures that come with being a public intellectual. Despite these difficulties, Ferrier remained steadfast in his commitment to philosophy. His intellectual pursuits were not driven by fame or public recognition, but by a genuine desire to understand and contribute to the philosophical discourse of his time. His persistence in the face of adversity is an inspiring reminder that intellectual work is not always easy or immediately rewarding. Lesson: perseverance in the face of challenges is crucial for personal growth and intellectual achievement. Ferrier's life encourages us to keep going even when the road is difficult, as it is often through struggle that the greatest growth occurs. This lesson resonates deeply in a world where instant gratification is often prioritized. Ferrier's commitment to long-term intellectual pursuits reminds us that meaningful progress often requires patience, resilience, and a willingness to face obstacles head-on. 6. Focus on the big questions, contemplating the nature of reality. Ferrier's philosophy was concerned with the most fundamental questions of existence. How do we know what we know? What is the nature of reality? What role does the mind play in constructing knowledge? His work in metaphysics and epistemology was driven by a deep desire to understand not just the details of human experience but the overarching structures that shape it. His engagement with such profound questions reflects a broader lesson about the importance of focusing on the big questions in life. In a world often consumed by day-to-day concerns and superficial distractions, Ferrier's life reminds us to engage with the deeper questions about who we are, why we are here, and what it means to be human. Lesson: never lose sight of the larger questions in life. Whether in philosophy, career, or personal life, taking time to reflect on the bigger picture can provide clarity and purpose. Ferrier's intellectual pursuits were grounded in a search for understanding that transcended the mundane details of life, and this focus on deep questions can help guide us through the complexities of our own lives. 7. Intellectual integrity, commitment to the truth. Ferrier's life and work were marked by a commitment to intellectual integrity. He was unafraid to challenge prevailing ideas when he believed they were incomplete or flawed. His willingness to critique the work of other philosophers, such as Hume and Locke, was not driven by a desire for personal gain or fame, but by a genuine pursuit of truth. Ferrier's ideas were grounded in a deep respect for reason and the search for knowledge. Lesson: true intellectual integrity requires a commitment to truth, even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. Ferrier's example encourages us to prioritize truth over convenience or social approval, and to remain faithful to our principles, no matter the obstacles we may face. 8. The necessity of intellectual humility, acknowledging the limits of knowledge. While Ferrier's work was marked by bold philosophical assertions, he also demonstrated a deep intellectual humility in recognizing the limitations of human knowledge. In his critique of empiricism and other schools of thought, Ferrier was careful to acknowledge that no single philosophy or system could claim to fully capture the complexity of reality. For example, Ferrier argued that while the mind plays an active role in knowledge, it also has inherent limitations in its ability to grasp the full nature of the world. This awareness of human intellectual limitations was crucial in shaping his metaphysical and epistemological views. Ferrier believed that philosophy must always remain open to refinement and revision. This idea of intellectual humility is particularly important in a world where the temptation to claim absolute certainty often leads to dogmatism. By recognizing that our knowledge is always partial and that there may be aspects of reality beyond our comprehension, Ferrier's philosophy encourages an openness to new ideas and an ongoing pursuit of understanding. Lesson: intellectual humility is essential for growth and progress. It's important to recognize that no individual or system has all the answers and to remain open to alternative perspectives. By accepting that our knowledge is limited, we can remain open to learning and adapting as we encounter new insights. This lesson is particularly valuable in today's fast-paced world, where new information and perspectives are constantly emerging. Intellectual humility helps prevent rigid thinking and encourages lifelong learning. 9. The interdependence of thought and action, philosophy and practice. Ferrier's career as both a philosopher and a jurist demonstrates the interdependence of thought and action. While many philosophers may view their work as abstract and removed from everyday life, Ferrier did not make this separation. His legal work in the courts, which involved dealing with questions of justice, morality, and societal structures, was deeply connected to his philosophical reflections on the nature of knowledge and human consciousness. In fact, Ferrier's philosophical beliefs were not merely academic pursuits but had practical implications for how people understand and act in the world. His critique of empiricism and emphasis on the active role of the mind in shaping knowledge influenced his understanding of legal principles and moral responsibility. Ferrier believed that an understanding of the mind's active role in perception and decision-making was essential to a proper understanding of human behavior and justice. Lesson: philosophy should not be confined to the abstract or the academic, it must also be applied to practical life. True intellectual development involves understanding how ideas inform actions, whether in personal choices, professional practices, or societal systems. Ferrier's life exemplifies the importance of bridging the gap between theory and practice, demonstrating that philosophical principles can and should shape how we live and interact with the world around us. This lesson encourages us to bring our philosophical understanding into our everyday actions, recognizing that our ideas about reality, ethics, and human nature influence how we approach problems, make decisions, and contribute to the betterment of society. 10. The power of legacy, influence beyond one's lifetime. Finally, one of the most important life lessons that can be drawn from Ferrier's life is the power of intellectual legacy. While Ferrier's fame was somewhat limited during his lifetime, his philosophical ideas have influenced generations of thinkers, particularly within the tradition of idealism and Scottish philosophy. His ideas about the mind's role in shaping knowledge were ahead of their time and contributed to the intellectual currents that would later influence thinkers like John Stuart Mill and the German Idealists. Even though Ferrier's work did not make him a household name, his commitment to philosophical rigor and truth left a lasting legacy. This underscores the notion that the impact of one's intellectual pursuits can extend far beyond one's own lifetime. Ferrier's life exemplifies how dedication to a principle, even without immediate recognition, can lead to a lasting influence on future generations. His ideas continue to inspire students of philosophy and are still relevant today, showing that intellectual work has the potential to outlast its creator. Lesson: the work we do today, whether in intellectual, creative, or professional pursuits, can have a lasting impact long after we are gone. The dedication to pursuing truth and contributing meaningfully to a field will outlast short-term recognition. Ferrier's example encourages us to think about our own legacy and how our contributions to knowledge, culture, or society may continue to shape future generations. In the modern era, this lesson speaks to the importance of contributing to the greater good, even when immediate results may not be visible. The knowledge, discoveries, and innovations we share can influence those who come after us in ways we may not foresee. Conclusion: a full picture of James Frederick Ferrier's philosophy and life lessons. Ferrier's life and philosophy continue to provide rich sources of reflection and inspiration for anyone seeking to navigate the complexities of knowledge, human experience, and intellectual growth. From the importance of intellectual humility to the idea that philosophy should be applied in practice, Ferrier's contributions transcend academic boundaries and offer practical wisdom for everyday life. His legacy serves as a reminder that the pursuit of truth, though challenging, is one of the most valuable endeavors one can undertake. By embracing his lessons, critical thinking, intellectual curiosity, deep reflection, and humility, we can better engage with the world around us, develop a more profound understanding of our own minds, and contribute meaningfully to the ongoing search for knowledge and understanding.